Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our IELTS Essential Vocabulary lessons. This is part 4. So we're going to go through some more words today, and of course there'll be lots of examples so that you can see how these words are used with some context. So hopefully by the end you'll feel more confident using these vocabulary words. Okay, let's get started. So the first word today is analyze. This is to examine in detail, typically for the purpose of understanding and explaining. In this essay, I will analyse the economic impact of automation on employment. So this is really good to use in your task 2 essays in the writing. It's crucial to analyse the factors contributing to the rise in childhood obesity. Argument. A statement or series of statements presented to support or oppose a particular position. The central argument in favour of stricter gun control laws is reducing gun-related violence. In her essay, she presented a compelling argument for the importance of cultural preservation. Aspect. A particular part or feature of a situation, idea, or problem. So you're zooming in on a particular point, if you like. One aspect of urban planning is ensuring sustainable transportation options. The essay discussed various aspects of technological advancements, including their impact on society. Assess now. To evaluate or judge the quality, importance, or value of something. To assess the effectiveness of healthcare policies, we must consider access and affordability. It's essential to assess the impact of climate change on vulnerable ecosystems. Cause. This is the reason or motive for something happening or existing. One of the primary causes of income inequality is disparities in educational opportunities. The essay explored the causes of political instability in the region. Another good word for essays, you can talk about the different causes. Challenge. A difficult task or problem that tests one's abilities or resources. Maybe like the IELTS exam itself is a challenge. Addressing environmental sustainability is a significant challenge for policymakers. Overcoming cultural barriers can be a challenge in international diplomacy. Clarify. To make a statement or situation less confusing and more understandable. So you can always ask for something to be clarified. The author clarified the main argument in the introduction of the book. Please clarify your position on the ethical dilemma presented in the case study. Conclude. To reach a decision or form an opinion after considering all the relevant facts and arguments. So you'll want to put your conclusion with your task 2 at longer essays. In conclusion, the evidence suggests that access to education is a fundamental right. To conclude the essay, let's summarise the key points made in the preceding paragraphs. Consequence now. A result or effect of an action or condition. One consequence of deforestation is the loss of biodiversity in the affected regions. The essay examined the consequences of excessive use of social media on mental health. Consider. This is to think carefully about something, typically before making a decision. So you might consider or think about all the different factors before you decide. Before implementing a new policy, it's essential to consider its potential impact on vulnerable populations. The essay encouraged readers to consider the ethical implications of artificial intelligence. Contradict. To assert the opposite of what someone has said. His statement contradicted the findings of the scientific study conducted by the research team. The available data seems to contradict the conventional wisdom on this topic, so it goes against it, it's the opposite. Convincing. Capable of persuading or winning over others with arguments or evidence. So if you can convince someone to do something or that your opinion is the right opinion, then they now are doing or thinking like you. The author made a convincing case for the adoption of renewable energy sources. A convincing argument can influence public opinion on pressing environmental issues. Counter. To respond to an argument or claim with an opposing viewpoint or evidence. So you might have heard the phrase counter argument, so you're going against the argument that has just been presented. She countered her opponent's argument by providing statistics that supported her position. In the debate, each participant had the opportunity to counter the other's assertions. Critique now. What does this mean? This is a detailed evaluation or analysis of a work, idea, or performance. So you can critique a piece of work or performance. The film's critique highlighted the strengths and weaknesses of the movie's screenplay. In his essay, he provided a thorough critique of the economic policies proposed by the government. Debate. A formal discussion of a topic in which opposing arguments are put forward. The candidates engaged in a spirited debate on the future of healthcare in the country. Debates about the impact of globalization on employment often feature conflicting viewpoints. Debate suggests that this is happening in person, not always, but that's more often than not what it implies. Defend. To support or argue in favour of a particular idea, viewpoint, or position. The lawyer will defend her client's innocence in the upcoming trial by presenting strong evidence. It's essential to defend your thesis with compelling arguments and supporting data. Define now. So we have a definition for define, but the definition shows us what it is to explain the precise meaning of a word, concept, or ideas. So as we're going through this video, we are defining the different words. The author defined key terms in the glossary to help readers understand the specialized language used in the field. Can you define the concept of cultural relativism in the context of anthropology? demonstrate. To show or prove something through evidence, examples, or actions. The experiment was designed to demonstrate the cause and effect relationship between temperature and plant growth. Speaker used case studies to demonstrate the successful implementation of sustainable development projects. Depict. To represent or show something in a visual or descriptive way. The mural in the Arts Gallery depicts scenes from the city's rich history. The novel's vivid descriptions beautifully depict the natural landscapes of the Amazon rainforest. Okay, describe now. To provide a detailed account or explanation of something. In the report, the author describes the key findings of the scientific study conducted on climate change. Please describe the main features of the innovative technology. Discuss. To talk about a topic in detail, often involving multiple viewpoints or aspects. The panel of experts will discuss the ethical considerations surrounding genetic engineering. In this essay, we will discuss the impact of artificial intelligence on employment and privacy. So it's not quite a debate, it's just putting multiple viewpoints and different factors across and talking about them, either in an essay or in person. Dispute. To engage in a disagreement or argument about a particular issue. The scholars continue to dispute the accuracy of historical records from that era. The ongoing dispute between the two nations centers on territorial boundaries. Elaborate. To provide additional details, explanations, or information to clarify a point. So you might ask someone to elaborate on something in order to give more understanding. The presenter elaborated on the key findings of the research by discussing the methodology used. Can you elaborate on the cultural significance of the ancient artifact? Emphasize. To give special importance or attention to a particular aspect or point. The teacher emphasized the need for critical thinking skills in the modern education system. The CEO's speech emphasized the company's commitment to sustainability. Evaluate. To assess or judge the quality, significance, or effectiveness of something. The film critic will evaluate the artistic merits of the newly released movie. It's essential to evaluate the impact of public policies on marginalized communities. Examine now. To inspect or investigate something closely and thoroughly. So in your essays, you might examine two sides of the argument, for example. The research paper will examine the factors contributing to the success of startups in the tech industry. The investigators will examine the evidence to determine the cause of the accident. Explain. To make something clear or easy to understand by providing details or reasons. So it's similar to describe and elaborate. Can you explain the process of democratic elections to those unfamiliar with the concept? The scientists explained the principles of quantum mechanics to the audience. Explore. To investigate, study, or analyze a subject or issue in depth. The researchers plan to explore the psychological effects of long-term space travel. The essay will explore the cultural differences that influence consumer preferences. Illustrate. To provide examples, visual aids, or evidence to support an idea or argument. So they can be visual aids, you might be thinking of illustrations, but they also can be examples and evidence as well. The presenter used real-life case studies to illustrate the impact of climate change on coastal communities. Can you illustrate your argument with historical examples? Impact. What's the effect of something? So yes, this is the effect or influence that something has on a situation, person, or thing. The impact of social media on interpersonal relationships is a topic of ongoing research. The economic policies of the government can have a significant impact on small businesses. Imply. To suggest or convey a meaning indirectly rather than stating it directly. So you're not being explicit, you're being quite subtle with this. His comments implied that there might be hidden motivations behind the decision. The author's use of symbolism in the novel implied deeper layers of meaning. Indicate. To point out or show something as a sign or evidence. The data indicated a strong correlation between educational attainment and income levels. The signs along the hiking trail indicated the distance to various points of interest. Interpret. To explain or understand the meaning or significance of something. The historian will interpret the ancient texts to gain insights into the culture of that era. Art critics often interpret abstract paintings differently based on their perspectives. So with something like art, interpretations might be subjective. Justify. To provide reasons or evidence to support a particular decision, action, or belief. The company's decision to downsize its workforce was justified by financial constraints. Can you justify your stance on the ethical dilemma presented in your case study? Observe. To watch, notice, or examine something closely. The scientist will observe the behavior of subjects in controlled laboratory conditions. It's crucial to observe safety protocols when conducting experiments. Oppose. This means to be against or in disagreement with something, either an idea, policy, or action. Many citizens oppose the government's proposed tax reforms due to potential economic consequences. The opposition party opposes the current administration's immigration policy. Persuade. So this is to convince someone to agree with a particular viewpoint or take a specific action. The speaker aimed to persuade the audience to support stricter environmental regulations. The advertisement used emotional appeals to persuade consumers to purchase the product. So advertising is all about persuading a consumer to buy. Point out. To identify or draw attention to something. The professor pointed out the main limitations of the research methodology in the academic paper. It's essential to point out the potential risks associated with the proposed infrastructure project. Present. To offer or show something to an audience, often in a formal or structured manner. So this might be in the form of a presentation. You might present ideas in the form of maybe a presentation or a forum. You can also present in the form of an essay. The speaker will present the findings of the market research at the industry conference. The marketing team will present the new advertising campaign to the client. Propose. To suggest or put forward an idea, plan, or solution for consideration. The committee will propose changes to the education curriculum to better align with modern needs. She proposed a new strategy for reducing carbon emissions in the transportation sector. Prove. To establish the truth or validity of something through evidence or reasoning. The scientists conducted experiments to prove the hypothesis that was central to the research. So this, you need evidence to back this up if you're proving something. The legal team presented compelling evidence in court to prove the defendant's innocence. Question. To express doubt or uncertainty about something or seek information or clarification. So you can always question something if you're not sure. The students were encouraged to question the assumptions made in the scientific theory. It's important to question the reliability of sources when conducting research. Rebut. To offer evidence or arguments to contradict or oppose a statement or claim. She rebutted her opponent's argument by presenting counterexamples and expert opinions. Scientists sought to rebut the prevailing notion that the phenomenon was entirely natural. So you're almost providing counter arguments. Reflect. To think deeply or ponder about a particular subject or experience, usually after it's happened. The essay encouraged readers to reflect on their personal values and beliefs. So they'll read the essay first, and then afterwards they'll do some reflection. It's essential to reflect on past mistakes in order to grow and learn from them. Refute. To disprove or prove wrong by presenting evidence or arguments. The scientists sought to refute the hypothesis that had been widely accepted for years. In the debate, each participant attempted to refute the other's claims using logical reasoning. Relate. To establish a connection or association between two or more things. The speaker will relate historical events to contemporary political developments to draw connections here. The essay aimed to relate the impact of technological advancements to changes in the job market. Represent. To stand for or symbolize something, typically a group or concept. The national flag represents the unity and identity of the entire nation. The organization's mission statement represents its commitment to environmental sustainability. Respond. To reply or react to something, often in the context of answering a question or addressing an issue. The government must respond promptly to public concerns regarding healthcare access. In the survey, participants were asked to respond to questions about their voting preferences. Support. To provide evidence, reasons, or arguments to back up a claim, idea, or proposal. The essay supported the thesis statement with extensive data and expert opinions. It's important to support your position with well-researched evidence in a persuasive essay. So in your essays, you want to provide supporting arguments and evidence and examples. Okay, well that wraps up this lesson. We've gone through lots of words that you might have seen before, but it's still applicable in the IELTS, different areas of the IELTS exam, so you might use them in your writing. Maybe you can watch out for them in your listening section. Reading, you might see them as well, and of course you can use them in your speaking if applicable. So I hope that's been helpful. Thank you for coming along, and we'll see you in the next one.